Alrighty, and we all know that was not the biggest news of the day. It's still not the biggest news of the day, so now let's get into this, folks. Let's truly break down. Let's go all the moving pieces of this story. Let's have an open conversation. Once again, that's where change happens. There are people just talking, and once again, we are just talking, and I think people get kind of not confused, but I think people just overlook talking. Can we talk? Can we throw ideas out there? We're not saying that these are, set in stone's ideas. These are just thoughts, potentially impromptu thoughts, first thoughts that pop in our head. We're just saying them out there. We can't restrict thought in anything, folks, truly. That's the biggest thing that's hurting society right now. It's stifling voices, regardless of good or bad. That's not for any law or written in stone thing to say. Thought is thought. These are thoughts. We should not be silencing thoughts. We should be thinking and saying our thoughts, and then once those are said out loud, trying to say, well, are these good? Let's see. Let's dive into these thoughts. Let's go deeper into these thoughts. Let's get down to the base level. Let's break everything down to the base so we can work up from there and find the solution from there. But I mean, just what's going on in society these last 2 seasons, it's like people are silencing voices. I mean, the whole Joe Rogan thing, what the hell is going on with that? Because he was talking with other people, because they were just having a conversation. That's all that is just a long form conversation. That's what y'all love. Let's have a conversation. Let's open up a dialogue. But when people open up a dialogue that doesn't 100% fit your view, you want to silence them. And once again, nothing's going to fit your view 100%. People have different ideas. People's ideas that they say may be bad, may be good, but let's see why they're bad and why they're good. And let's say them and not villainize people for having that first initial thought. People just talk, and that's something that y'all overlook, is just talking. And once again, going back to Joe Rogan, that's just talking. They're not saying this is it. They're talking, they're throwing out their ideas, and then he's talking to other people that don't hold the same belief, and then they're having that active engagement, talking it all through. 3 hours of talking, folks, that's nothing. Y'all love to throw podcasts into the traditional hour format. He's doing something that nobody else is doing. Let's talk for 3 hours. Let's talk for 4 hours. Let's talk on topics that aren't controversial. Let's talk about topics that are controversial. Let's get a huge body of work, 4 hours, and just talk. And then after, dissect it. Talk about what you talked about and then move on from there. But just silencing Joe Rogan because you don't like his opinion or his thought on, actual experts that he brings in, I think it's absolutely wild to do, whether you agree or disagree with his thoughts. To ever silence any type of thought, it's crazy to do, folks, honestly. I think I think you'd be a little naive to try to suppress people's voices. And the big thing about, misinformation and disinformation that truly just gets under my skin is, if it's so wrong, if that idea is so wrong, then nobody should be believing it. So what's the problem? And I get it. And once again, there's going to be extremes on every side. Once again, going back to current events, the whole trucker protest that's going on in Canada at the current moment. The leader coming out, Justin Trudeau, coming out and being like, this is a fringe minority. But then you go check the GoFundMe that's raising $10 million at the current moment. And then you're seeing film, actual video from the protest, and everybody's getting along. And there's 50,000 trucks out there. That's a fringe minority. And then once again, the bad actors that are involved, whether real or put into place by some outside organization that doesn't like what's going on, because what starts change people's voices. What's being stifled at the current moment, people's voices. I think we all just need to take a step back and truly seeing what's going on. Nothing has changed in the last 80 years, folks. This is why we're having the same old conversations, and we're falling into the same trap of why it's all not changing. Stifling voices, shutting down your opposition, letting the big media, the big industries silence everybody from top down. That we're going into the same thing. That's why we're having this. Then we just had this conversation about racism at the NFL head coaching level, at the management ownership level. Didn't we just have this conversation last year? Didn't we just have this same conversation 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Nothing's changing, and we're going into the same thing that lead us to no change. So when we get into this story, folks, yes, that's the lead up to the story. Let's all just keep an open mind. Let's see what has been working, what has not been working. Let's throw ideas out there. Let's just talk it all through without villainizing and instantly screaming racist, racist, racist. You are Hitler. You should die. You should be removed. You should not be allowed to speak. You should not be allowed to talk. Let's all just relax, folks. Take a deep breath. For 99% is good. There's always 1% bad on every side of the extreme. That will never change. That's ingrained into humanity for whatever reason. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are currently in society and how people work. Brains, DNA, always constantly evolving. And we didn't start at any great place. We know history. That obviously was not good, but it's unfortunate because that's already ingrained into us. Yes, we can get better, and we should be striving to get better. But once again, the people that are kind of at the top in power, they're doing the same old things, pitting everybody against each other so they can, once again, lead and be the same last 100 years over again and over again and over again. So, okay, we talk. I know I touched every in the last 5 minutes. I touched every subject you're not allowed to talk about. So, let's keep going. I guess here we go. We're already off to a great start on this. So that's all I'm saying is let's have talk, let's have conversation, actual conversation. Once again, everybody screams, hey, let's have a conversation, and then you don't have a conversation. You have people on The View. You have Whoopi Goldberg going with Meghan McCain. Who are these people? Why are we listening? Can y'all please just do me a favor and go listen to Russell Brand? Go listen to Joe Rogan, because I know y'all have not listened to Joe Rogan. The way that y'all speak about Joe Rogan, I know you have not listened to Joe Rogan. And I know I'm already getting villainized because I'm out here. I'm not defending Joe Rogan on his stances. I'm defending on what he does. I think what he's doing is what's helping society. Everybody should be doing that. 3-hour conversations. How hard is that? I'm talking an hour and a half every day. I can go for 2 hours every day, but y'all still want The View, half-hour, 5-minute segments of talking point after buzzword after talking point after buzzword. It's just it's just y'all say one thing and then completely do another. And I think that's another. Let's open up our mind. Let's think out of the box, folks. Truly think out of the box. Allow yourself to have thoughts. Challenge those thoughts. Say those thoughts out loud. That's kind of what we do on the show. We're thinking some things. All right, is Tom Brady the greatest of all time? Or is Aaron Rodgers the greatest of all time? Or hang on, is actually Drew Brees the greatest of all time? Let me say, Drew Brees is the greatest of all time. And how does that sound coming out of my mouth? And let's reflect on that. And maybe a day, 2 days later, let's revisit that. All right, how did that sound? It sounded good in my mind. All right, I said it out loud. How is that kind of being perceived? Is this something that has merit or not? And then constantly going back and rechecking that information and what happens today, a week later, and all that, and then revisiting again. We should be doing that in everything that we do, not just sports, folks. Alrighty, so let's dive right down deep into the whole craziness that Brian Flores dropped on the league. Is he right? Does he have the information? Is this a history of what's been going on in the NFL? Or is this nonsense and crazy to talk about? Let's dive right into it. We're going to use the article from ESPN here. Just for some baseline facts, it's more than just racism. It's about losing games, and this is going to be a big topic because now that they introduce sports betting, let's save it all, but this is, it's multi-layered, folks, so let's peel it back layer by layer like an onion, folks, and let's take a chunk out of this onion. Let's see. Alrighty, here we go. Gonna go through the article and see what the heck is going on here. Here we go. All right, Brian Flores has sued the NFL in three teams and the NFL, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Giants, alleging discrimination regarding his interview process with the Denver and New York and his firing last month in Miami. So he's suing the Broncos and the Giants for the interview process. He's suing the Dolphins for firing him, and then he's suing the NFL for everything, I guess. All right, here we go. The 58-page lawsuit was filed in Manhattan federal court Tuesday and seeks class action status. Flores alleges that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross attempted to incentivize him to, quote, tank or purposely lose games shortly after he was hired in 2019, with Ross allegedly offering Flores $100,000 for every loss that season. Flores says that as the team won games late in the season, Dolphins general manager Chris Greer told him Ross was, quote, mad that the on-field success was, quote, compromising the team's draft position. So let's take that first part right here, folks. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, incentivizing Flores to lose games. I hate that. I hate that for two reasons. The competitive aspect. I hate losing games. I was never even in the tank for Tua. You should always try to win games regardless. Losing does not do anything for your team. Oh, you get a better draft pick. Well, the draft pick may not pan out. It may pan out, but it also may not pan out. And how does that player work in your system? Once again, we talk about player and system. They go hand in hand. Tom Brady. Once again, y'all love to give him no credit because he was with Bill Belichick. Y'all love to give Bill Belichick no credit because he was with Tom Brady. It goes hand in hand, folks. This is not a one-person sport. It's a team sport. So that aspect right there, I've lost all respect for Stephen Ross, absolutely. Paying Brian Flores to actively tank is it's gross, folks. At the end of the day, paying a coach to not do the job you brought him into and then giving him $100,000, that's a huge carrot dangled in the face. And let's take this, folks, to truly go a little bit deeper, expand our minds. Is this the only team that's doing this? Probably not. In the NFL, maybe. In every single sport, obviously this is all going on behind the scenes without our knowledge. Now we have a little confirmation here. All of it is kind of hearsay at the current moment until we get all the evidence. But I don't think Brian Flores would lie about this. I mean, he's actively suing. You don't sue people without any evidence. Or if you do, I don't know what you're doing by doing that. You're not going to win. So, we kind of have to assume he does have a little bit of evidence on everything that he's kind of alleging. And we do have some text messages from Bill Belichick. Not about the $100,000 payments. But actively losing games, as a fan, you put your hard-earned money, your time, your attention into a team. You're buying the jerseys. You're going to the game. And little do you know, I mean, the team is tanking, actively tanking, whether you agree or not. Your team that maybe you bet on, and we're going to get to that in a second, that you're trying to root for behind the scenes, they don't care if they win. Doesn't that make you a little upset? It should make you a little upset. It's good because we're tanking and then we'll get the better player. But then who says in 2 years, when another draft class becomes good, you're tanking again? And again, and where does it stop at that point? So we got things going behind the scenes that kind of people thought about, oh, they're tanking, they're actively tanking. That was always it. Oh, the team is tanking, but we can never prove it. Obviously, they want to win on the field. Nobody's losing on purpose, but here we go, offering $100,000. And once again, going to contracts, and we have this kind of salary cap, but an owner has no problem writing $100,000 check to the coach every time they lose. What are we doing with players now? Do they get some incentives? Hey, maybe take this play off, or hey, I'll give you even more money. If you reach some incentives, hey, come play for me because, I'll give you the contract. I'll give you the good contract, but then I'll also kind of pay you under the table. Every touchdown you get, what about 50 grand? You like that? Yeah. So once again, and I'm truly because part of language, folks, and honestly, language, folks, it's a huge thing. Using charged language, accusing people of being dumb or stupid or not seeing what's actually happening, or using the tone, using swear words, all that. That's what I truly try to always stay back from. Charged language. You can lose somebody, even if the idea is 100% flawless and all that. You can lose the support of people by just your tone, the way that you present the information, talking down to people. So, as I'm saying, as we're talking here, I'm truly not knocking or putting anybody down, honestly, folks. But I think I do think some people are a little naive in their thinking a little bit, that we all kind of knew some of this stuff does go on. We don't have proof, so that's what always people point to. Well, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Yes, there's always not going to be evidence. That's, the big knock on, conspiracy theorists. Well, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Folks, these people, they've got the money, they've got the resources, they've got the knowledge, and they've also always got plausible deniability. It's tough to kind of, prove that people are doing not great things, not kosher things and all that. So here we are, we get a little bit of an example here. Now, let's not, use this example and be like, oh, everybody's murdering children and killing everybody and all that. Yeah, obviously, let's not go too extreme with it, but, reasonable things along these lines of paying people to lose, or maybe even paying players extra under the salary cap to perform well and all that. So this stuff does happen, and I think we should be always kind of conscious about what is going on behind the scenes in a billion-dollar organization, an entertainment league, and all that. So we get Stephen Ross, owner of the Dolphins, potentially paying $100,000 to Brian Flores for losing every single game. So I hate it from the competition aspect. Absolutely. And now we bring in the betting aspect. NFL has no problem partnering with all these betting sites, DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, and BetMGM. And if they were just working alone, NFL was like, hey, we know they exist, but we're not going to partner. We're not going to advertise. We're not going to take any money. That's a whole different situation. But now they're actively promoting the gambling. They're actively promoting. They know. I mean, Roger Goodell works for the owners, folks. It's not the other way around. Roger Goodell is basically the CEO of the NFL. And what's the job of a CEO? To maximize profits, to maximize money for the shareholders, aka the owners of the league here. So Roger Goodell works for the owners, folks. He knows what's going on. That's why they make rules and all that, because the owners want them. It's Roger Goodell to be the face of all that and kind of be like, well, we're doing it for the game, not for the owners, it's for the game. And once again, what's the job of the CEO, folks? Literally, the only job of the CEO is to make the shareholders money. So they will do whatever they need to try to lobby for any laws to increase the profits of the shareholders. That's literally the job description for the CEO. That's all they do. They are a mouthpiece, folks. They are a figurehead. That's it. So now we've got the gambling aspect, and once again, this is I think I could compare this honestly to like insider trading. Honestly, you've got people actively betting, buying into you, using their money to bet on you, and you're actively knowing, hey, we're trying to tank here. So Stephen Ross, I know they are not allowed to. Players, nobody's allowed to bet on the games, but once again, you're not allowed to pay your head coach $100,000 to tank, to lose games and all that, and then to sell, hey, we're we're not tanking and we're not losing. So, I mean, if they are actively tanking, I think that needs to kind of be told to the people that can potentially bet on the Dolphins. If I'm betting on a team every single week, hey, I'm going to bet the Dolphins this week. I'm going to bet the Dolphins this week. And then behind the scenes, they're actively like, we're not trying to win. We're trying to lose. I mean, don't we see a big old conflict right there? Like insider trading? Hey, maybe, put all your money into it right now because this stock's going to go big. Hey, we're actually going to try this game. So why don't you bet on the Dolphins this week, because we're actually trying. We're not tanking anymore. I'm not paying my head coach this week to lose the game. I'm paying him to win the game this week. So I think it's a slippery slope right here. And I think, honestly, yes, racism is a big old problem, folks. Absolutely. I'm not trying to undersell the problem of racism in America. I get it, folks. But I mean, this is going to hurt the pockets. Obviously, racism doesn't hurt the NFL's pockets, folks, because we're having the same racism talk every single 6 months. So if this gets out and then betting and then, basically if you're actively paying coaches to actively lose these games and then you're getting money from the betting organizations and all that, I think this is truly the bigger glaring issue for the NFL and Roger Goodell. We obviously know they don't care anything about racism or it'd be fixed by now. It's not that hard to fix things, folks. It's not that hard, but we digress. So that's issue number one. Paying your head coach to lose games. How crazy is that? And here we are, celebrating the competitive nature, the competitive spirit. We just spent 58 minutes celebrating Tom Brady because he was always winning. What happened? Were they paying everybody else to lose? It's just a slippery slope from here on out, folks. And now for Brian Flores. I mean, we don't know. Is Brian Flores an actual good coach or not? Because we heard him, kind of never truly get behind Tua, but I mean, it doesn't seem like they wanted Tua. So Brian Flores, even right here, general manager Chris Greer was like, "Hey, owner's mad at you because you're not losing these games." And we know we're gonna read in a little bit here that the ownership didn't even want Tua. So Brian Flores, always kind of hesitant and reluctant in the press conferences to kind of be like, "Hey, Tua's our guy. 100% believe in Tua." Now that's on the owners now. So Brian Flores may be a great head coach, may be a great leader, may love to gush over his quarterback, his guy, but always that fear from the ownership level is there. Right here, general manager Chris Greer told him Ross was, quote, mad that the on-field success was, quote, compromising draft positions. So, I mean, we've been knocking Brian Flores a little bit in the head coach regard because he was never backing Tua. But little did we know, it was coming from the ownership. It was coming from the top down to not support Tua. So I truly have to apologize for Brian Flores. We've always called him a great defensive mind. I think I've called him the top 3 defensive minds currently in the league. But, head coach, defense, we talk about it all the time. Different circumstances there. You got to be a little bit more of a leader at the head coaching position. And the entire time he was a great leader. It was just the ownership like, no, we don't want Tua. And then Brian Flores kind of, stuck between a rock and a hard place. I want to be the coach here. I want to continue to be the head coach, but I can't actively, endorse Tua because then Stephen Ross is mad at me. And now I got to hear from him and he can fire me at any minute and, all that. So it's tough, man. But let's keep going here. Let's keep this. That's just one of the first issues here. All right, here we go. Next paragraph, quote, additionally, Flores alleges that Ross pressured him into recruiting a, quote, prominent quarterback at the end of the 2019 season, which the coach refused so as not to violate the NFL's tampering rules. Ross then allegedly invited Flores onto a yacht for lunch in the winter of 2020, where he informed him that the quarterback was, quote, conveniently arriving at the marina for an impromptu meeting. So the next thing, once again, going behind the scenes, which, we never had any kind of proof of, but once again, backdoor deals, tampering rules, don't tamper. all that, but here we get the actual owner of a team trying to set up a kind of impromptu, potentially tampering with the quarterback, and the quarterback was kind of initially believed to be Deshaun Watson. We're hearing that it probably wasn't Deshaun Watson and that it was kind of Tom Brady. That's kind of the main narrative at the current moment. We don't know the name of the quarterback. That's not officially released. We just got a little bit of hearsay saying that it was Tom Brady, and I could go on another half-hour segment. Brian Flores, what are you doing? You don't want Tom Brady? What's up with that? I tamper for Tom Brady all day, okay? We're joking, folks, okay? But once again, this goes on behind the scenes. You think Stephen Ross is the first person to be like, hey, this isn't tampering, but there's Tom Brady over there. Wouldn't it be nice to get to know him? You know Tom Brady, right? You were with the Patriots? Oh, that's interesting. Well, he's right over there. Like, this stuff kind of happens, folks. This stuff does happen. Like, things aren't just kind of, sunshine and rainbows because they're telling you it's sunshine and rainbows. Everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's trying to do something. Try to understand what they're trying to do and see what's real that they're saying, and maybe kind of things that are a little just that doesn't seem right. That doesn't sit well with me. Once again, listen to authority, always listen, but also kind of challenge authority, what they are saying, what they're telling us, why are they telling us this? And and always assume, or not always assume, but always just kind of keep in the back of my mind, are people working together? Like, once again, everybody, I don't want to, bring this up, but, it does correlate. But once again, just like everybody on the same page, that should always kind of concern people. When everybody all of a sudden overnight are on the same page, it's like, well, y'all just said this today. How is everybody on the same page? Because they're working, behind the scenes to get things done. That stuff happens. So, potentially, breaking the rules here of tampering, and why Stephen Ross was a little upset at Brian Flores, because Brian Flores would not play ball. That's another aspect. Some people play ball. Not every head coach holds them to a great standard inside. People break rules all the time. There would be head coaches that would take that kind of impromptu meeting with that quarterback. That happens. Who's gonna play ball? Stephen Ross. If Brian Flores took this, meeting with the quarterback, then Stephen Ross, knows Brian Flores. He plays ball. I can trust him. And that's another thing. When we're talking about hiring of, why head coaches get hired and why others don't, and all that. Sometimes it's just, hey, I'm familiar. I know this guy's not gonna open his mouth. He's not gonna kind of whistle blow. Another thing that's going on in the media. Everybody's trying to silence whistleblowers. It's like, Edward Snowden, he told us, hey, they're all spying on us through the phones. Obviously, the government didn't like that, because why would he? He's exposing the secrets. So he's got to flee to Russia. He's got to get out of the country because, we may do something mean to him here in the U.S. To put it politely, mean. They'd be mean to Edward Snowden. Mean 6 feet down in the dirt, folks. This stuff happens. Who's going to play ball? Oh, Brian Flores, he's not going to take this meeting. Well, he's not going to bend the rules. And, will he blow the whistle on us? Is he going to tell people that we were trying to bend the rules and all that? So can't trust him. I can't kind of, do my tampering deals with Brian Flores. So I got to get rid of him and bring in somebody I'm a little closer to, that I've been rubbing elbows with. Maybe he happens to be white, potentially. But, moral compass in business doesn't always seem to always point in the same direction, folks. Now, credit to the people, credit to Brian Flores 100% for, sticking to his morals and be like, no, I'm going to do things by the book. I'm not going to kind of play this game. I'm not going to kind of bend the rules. I'm not going to break the rules. I respect the game. I respect the sport. I respect competition. Trying to put that into perspective with baseball. Y'all were clamoring over active cheaters getting into the Hall of Fame. I think that's a little bizarre to do. You want people that actively broke the rules using steroids, using performance-enhancing drugs. That's breaking the rules. But we're celebrating them of trying to get into the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's like, don't y'all see what's going? Like, y'all are breaking the rules. The owners are breaking the rules. It's like, but then y'all blame the owners and then celebrate the players. It's like a little bit of a double standard in that regard. If Brian, so shout out to Brian Flores for keeping it, competitive, keeping it fair, following the rule book. That should never go punished, but that always goes punished. People that do the right thing always get punished, folks. That's why people tend to do the wrong thing. And people that do the wrong thing end up getting into positions of power. It does not seem to be a coincidence, folks. So, and once again, we'll touch on the racist issue, but I don't think everything is always racism. I think it's just at the end of the day, who's going to play ball? Who's going to bend their morals to help us and the team and them by getting money and all that? So I think we're a little bit too quick to just call racism. He hired Brian Flores as a head coach. Was that racist? He hired him. Now, was he trying to, just hire him because he thought he could manipulate him and do whatever, do his bidding? Potentially. But well done for Brian Flores to stand on his morals and be like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to stand for this. So, all right, let's get to the next one here. What else is going on here? So here we go. Let's get back to the article. Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht. Afterward, Flores alleges he was, quote, treated with disdain and held out as someone who was not compliant and difficult to work with. And once again, I mean, you're not playing ball, so I can't trust you. We're going to kind of push you out of the inner circle because we don't know what you're going to tell and what you are going to be good with and what you aren't going to be good with. So we can't trust you. At the end of the day, we can't trust you. And this isn't a knock on Brian Flores, but, the owner's thinking, hey, we can't trust you to kind of, not play ball with what we want, regardless of the rules, regardless of morals, regardless of money, regardless of all that. You won't do what we want to do. And that's why people in power stay in power. They've got people that they can trust under them. They don't have to worry about not going along with the plan, legal or not legal, moral or amoral. It doesn't matter. You won't go with us, so we can't trust you. That's all. It's for the most part what it is. Racism, yes, that's always going to be an issue and everything. But I don't know if it's the main issue at the top. But let's keep going here and seeing what else is happening. All right, here we go. Here we go. What's the next one? Here we go. All right. Next paragraph. He was fired January 10th despite recording the Dolphins' first back-to-back winning season since 2003. Flores also alleged that the Giants interviewed him last month for their head coaching vacancy for no other reason than compliance with the NFL Rooney's Rule, which requires teams to interview minority candidates for their open position. The league has amended that rule in recent years and now says teams must hold an in-person interview with at least one external minority candidate for any general manager or head coaching opening. So once again, the Rooney Rule. It doesn't seem like anybody likes this rule. Minorities don't want to be kind of just held out of pity. Oh, yeah, okay, you're only interviewing me because the rule. I get it. I get the sense of the rule. Hey, there's little kind of minority at the top. There's currently one black head coach in the NFL. There was another black head coach in the NFL, Brian Flores, and the owner was paying him to lose games. Negative light on Brian Flores, potential negative black mark on black people being NFL head coaches. They'd be like, well, Brian Flores, that man stunk it up. Hugh Jackson, well, he stunk it up as well. So, the black people, they can't coach. So let's not hire them. So is that part of it as well? Is that why Stephen Ross was paying Brian Flores? Is that the racism to kind of make black people look bad? That could definitely be it. And if that's the case, then yes, racism is obviously the biggest issue here. Absolutely. And that definitely needs to be changed. And I think a lot of people have kind of been, saying it right here. There needs to be kind of, representation at the highest level, and that's ownership level. So, how do we get to that? How do we get to that spot? I don't know. I don't have all the answers to that. But that's what we should be trending up toward. Getting, qualified minorities, whatever they are, into ownership positions. That seems fair, obviously. So that's where racism truly could play the big issue. Was Stephen Ross doing this to make a black head coach look bad? Potentially. Potentially. We don't know. And once again, going back to the Rooney Rule, seems like nobody likes it. Everybody kind of speaks out, be like, well, I don't want to be kind of, the token minority to be hired. And once again, teams are going to do what they want to do. They're going to go with somebody that they like. Like if Doug Peterson's a fantastic head coach. He's proven himself. We've seen him over and over again, winning with good talent, winning with a backup quarterback, Nick Foles. I would kind of want to hire him right off the bat if I was one of these teams. And if he wants to be hired here and I want to hire him, why should we have to do this song of dance of, interviewing a minority to kind of please everybody, even though we know he's not going to get the job? There's no chance because I'm going to go with Doug Peterson. It doesn't seem like anybody likes this rule, but here we are still having the same discussion about the rule, and people just using the rule just to use the rule. Like if you're gonna force somebody to interview a minority candidate, they're gonna do that, and then still go with the same guy. So I don't think it helps anybody. We should always be trying to get the right person for the right job. That's really all it should be down to. But there are racist people that cloud that thinking, and it's unfortunate. But is that ever going to stop? It should, and hopefully it does. But there's bad people on every side. I mean, most people are good. Most people aren't racist. There's people, negatives on both sides. There's the extreme anti-race people that obviously are out of their mind of thinking. That's not natural thinking to think you should be superior because of your skin color. What the hell is that? And then you got people on the other side that it's racist for everything. Everything is racist. So there's bad on every side. There's bad in everything. And I know that's easy to say, but I truly believe that is the truth. Everybody, people just focus on the outliers. Once again, going back to Canada in the truck protest up there, that's for freedom of choice of not mandating vaccines. I mean, that's what they're protesting. Hey, people should have a choice if they want to get the vaccine or not. A vaccine that, I don't know, can I say this, that does maybe not work the greatest? Yeah, they say it works well, but they don't want to release the information for 75 years. So what's up with that? That's transparent? I don't know. They're just protesting freedom of choice up there. But then we get, one picture. There's like two pictures circulating around of like one Nazi flag and one Confederate flag in Canada. Who's got the Confederate flag in Canada? That's the wrong country, my man. So, I mean, that's what they're focusing on. Two flags out of everybody, the $10 million that were raised, they're focusing on two flags that scream racism to try to disrupt the entire movement. Just like the whole Black Lives Matters protest last year, where all that was great. They were protesting. Y'all were doing it peacefully. And then you had, two people break windows of stores so everybody could rush in. The pile of bricks that were laid everywhere. It's like most people are good. Yeah, the 1%, that the two people that burn down a building, the two people with flags, yeah, and then y'all focus on them. The media focuses on them. It's like, why were y'all focus on the message, the movement? The movement is good, but then we get bad actors on every side, and it's unfortunate because it hinders progress, it hinders success, it hinders moving forward. But here we are, once again, doing the same thing for the last 100 years because that works. Focusing on the one or two negatives. That's why it works. Because we're recycling the same thing. Because it works. Because they know it works. I just don't understand why everybody can't see. Like, I'm not saying everything I'm saying is 100% right. But I'm saying for the broader picture, we're doing the same thing over and over again. That's insanity, folks. Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. No, we're having the same discussions every single day, every day. Nothing's changing. I just think we should all just kind of broaden our thinking on and taking in the full picture. Let's stop focusing on one thing, the one racist flag, the one racist coach, or the one racist owner. Are there more racist owners? Maybe, potentially, but for the most part, most people aren't that racist. I shouldn't say most people aren't that racist. Most people aren't racist at all, folks, honestly. But here we are. So I get both sides. Trust me, I know it's easy for me to say this because I am white. I get it, folks, but let's all just take a deep breath and try to figure out a solution that doesn't get kind of derailed. Got to vote at the local level. Honestly, that's really the only way to do it. You vote at the local level, somebody that you trust, somebody that is truly clean, that's not going to, play the game, somebody like Brian Flores who is not going to take that meeting to not get kind of, sucked into the system that works. That's really all it is. People like money and people like power. People really don't care if it hurts others of their race, anything like that. They care about money and power, and if you throw money and power in their face, they're pretty much going to take it. I don't know if it's a racism issue. It's like a money and power issue. It's hard to stay clean 100% in your morals, folks. People sell out. It's unfortunate. It ruins movements. It ruins progress. It ruins growth. This is why, we've been stagnant in growth. We were supposed to have, Jetsons flying cars by now, but we're still focused on the same, literally like the simplest fundamental problems of I'm better because my skin's white. Like what is that? Absolutely crazy. So man, oh man, but let's keep going here. The Rooney Rule, it's supposed to do good. But now it's just a rule, and people are going to hire who they want to hire, who they're, friends with, who they're, who they feel comfortable around. All right, what else do we get here? All right, next paragraph. Let's keep going here. What else is going on? Flores alleged he spoke with the Giants via Zoom on January 18th prior to the team hiring former Buffalo Bills assistant general manager Joe Schoen as its general manager on January 23rd. He said that the next day Schoen finalized his interview date for January 27th, and the Giants co-director of player personnel Tim McDonald texted Flores saying he hoped he would, quote, come in and win the effing job. However, hours later, Flores' lawsuit alleges he received a series of text messages from Patriots coach Bill Belichick, under whom Flores worked for 10 years in New England. In those texts, Bill Belichick told Flores he had heard from Buffalo and New York Giants that you are their guy. So let's go to these texts here. He releases them. They are out there. And they're kind of funny because he's texting the wrong guy. So is that Bill Belichick, doing it on purpose? That's something interesting to talk about or think about. Did Bill Belichick know he was actually texting Brian Flores and wanted to blow this entire thing up? Or is this just an honest mistake? And, how far is Bill Belichick into the game here? He's I'm hearing you landed. That's what he says. Bill Belichick says, sounds like you have landed. Congrats. Saying, hey, you're going to get the job. They're talking. They like you. So how did Bill Belichick hear that? Because is Bill Belichick in the game? Is he playing the game? The game that Brian Flores would not play on the yacht? Is Bill Belichick playing that game? He's been at a head coaching position forever. Was that because of Tom Brady? Once again, just you don't have to, don't think of anything definite. Don't come to, oh yeah, Bill Belichick's definitely in the game because he worded it like this. No, just keep that in your mind. Always, you should always be evaluating everything that you think, that you hold as truth. You should always be re-evaluating that truth. One new nugget of information comes out. Re-evaluate that to what you hold true as the truth. Reevaluate, always thinking, folks. So, here we go. Bill Belichick says, sounds like you have landed. Congrats. Then we get Flores saying, did you hear something I didn't hear? Bill Belichick responds saying, Giants, ? Then Flores says, I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot. So Flores is like, I haven't even interviewed yet. And you're telling me I've got the job? What's up with that? What are you hearing? And then Bill Belichick says, got it. I hear from Buffalo and the Giants that you are their guy. Hope it works out if you want it to. Then we get Flores saying, that's definitely what I want. I hope you're right, coach. Thank you. Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Dable? Just making sure. And that's where the entire thing gets blown up. Bill Belichick responds saying, sorry, I fucked this up. I double checked and I misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Dable. I'm sorry about that. And then he says, thanks, Bill. Because he's like, oh, I've got evidence now. So, yeah, the text, not, once again, going to the Rooney Rule. This was just a token interview because they had to go by the rule. I don't think the Giants should be penalized. I mean, we've seen what Brian Dable has done. He took Josh Allen, who was trash, and made him an AFC participant, almost knocked off the Chiefs this season. We've seen real great success out of Brian Dable, where once again, the overall what was out there for people to consume about Brian Flores was that, he wasn't truly buying into his head coach too. And once again, this seemed to be no fault of Brian Flores because this was coming top down, but we didn't know that at the time. So it just seemed like the Giants were set on getting this offensive-minded guy that turned Josh Allen good for Daniel Jones, who's, kind of similar in their build. We talk about that all the time, who has potential to be good, but get him an offensive guy because Brian Flores may not have been fully backing Daniel Jones because he wasn't fully backing Tua. But once again, that's not because of Brian Flores. Now we know that. Now that this is all out there, but the Giants didn't know that. Yes, you interview them and people will say, what they want, in the interview. Have you ever lied in an interview? Have you ever, embellished the truth on an interview? So, taking past experiences with what you say in the interview, taking the full body of work. And, Brian Flores may have still not won the job at the end of the day just because he was interviewed. So that's that part of it. Bill Belichick kind of, setting off this entire chain of events at the current moment. All right, and what else do we get? Okay, so we get Flores spoke with the Giants via Zoom on January 18th prior to the team hiring the Bills. When were the texts? The text, hours later. For January, he was going to have an interview on the 27th. He spoke with the Giants on January 18th. I guess I'm just having trouble piecing together the timeline. Like, what was that call with the Zoom? Was that just like, hey, you want to come in on the 27th? Was that just the call? Because it seems like, they had some communication with Brian Flores before they made the official hire of Brian Dable. But let's keep going here. Hours later, Flores' lawsuit alleges he received a series of text messages from Patriots coach Bill Belichick, under whom Flores worked for 10 years in New England. In those texts, Belichick told Flores he had heard from, quote, Buffalo and the Giants that you are their guy. Flores asked Belichick to clarify whether he meant to talk to him or Brian Dable, who was also in the running for the Giants job. Belichick acknowledged his error and informed him that the Giants wanted Dable. We read that. Flores alleges that his January 27th interview with the Giants, which satisfied the Rooney Rule because he was the first minority candidate to interview in person, was a sham. That's right, they have to do it in person. So he got the Zoom call, and then they went in person on the 27th. And it was a, quote, sham. New York had hired Dable, the former offensive coordinator, a day later. So once again, I mean, you put this rule in place, once again, it's no disrespect or kind of any slight to Brian Flores. It's just, we've got our, heart set on Brian Dable. They've had their heart set on Brian Dable. Brian Dable was always initially the guy. Once again, Brian Flores is a defensive guy. So right at the, start, the ground floor, they kind of want to go to offensive side for Daniel Jones. They had special teams guys. Special teams, Joe Judge does not get it done. They've got more time time to kind of play around with Daniel Jones. So the Giants are kind of being put in a negative spot here because of this rule that seems like nobody likes, because, you're viewed as a token interview. And once again, nobody wants to be viewed as a token anything. Nobody wants to kind of be toyed around with. You're wasting my time. You're wasting your time. You're just kind of playing down to me like you feel sorry to me. You're pitying me for this interview. Nobody wants to feel like that. And once again, I understand why the rule is in place to get, minorities into, higher positions, coaches, general managers, owners. I completely agree. And truly, that should be the case. But that should just be a fundamental way of thinking in people in the first place. You shouldn't have to, we shouldn't be at the stage where we have to force people not to be racist. If you force somebody to do something, we hear it all the time. In media, in movies, all the time, parents say this all the time. Hey, the more you push, hey, you can't go out with that boy. What do? They go out with that boy. The more you say, hey, don't be racist, they're going to kind of, resent, like, oh, I gotta interview this guy. I don't even want this guy, but I have to do it. It's just going to push them towards, the opposite. It's just, fundamental, biology that has been evolving and ingrained into us since our civilization started. Who knows when? The cavemen. That's when the brain first started. We've been developing ever since that point. So it's good in theory. It's great in theory, but it doesn't work. So how do we go around that? How do we fix that? So not even 5 years, 1 year later, we're not at the same point next season be like, oh, this was just a token hire again. And then we're having the same debate and same discussion over again. How can we get better? How can we move by this? How can we fix this? Let's try to think outside the box more to come up with the solution. All right, what else do we get here? The Giants, Dolphins, and hang on. Yeah, let's get to this part because now this is interesting, and this is gonna come out in court documents and all that. So this is gonna be truly interesting to see if this is actually true or not. But here we go. Flores alleges that a similar scenario occurred when he interviewed with the Broncos for their head coaching job in 2019. Flores says that then Denver general manager John Elway, among others, arrived to the interview an hour later and hung over, alleging they have been, quote, drinking heavily the night before. So once again, the Broncos were like, hey, we don't want to really hire this guy. This is just a token interview. They didn't take it seriously. And once again, just wasting Brian Flores' time, making him feel awful. I mean, how would you feel if you went to a job interview and regardless of skin color that you go to a job interview and your boss is hungover, not giving you the time of day, just kind of be like, okay, yep, okay. Tell me about yourself. Okay, slurring his speech. Tell me about yourself. Okay, yeah. And then just, okay, thank you. And then you're done. Knowing that you don't have a real shot. You would feel like garbage. You would feel like garbage if that happened to you. So, getting mad that Brian Flores is kind of taking all this and be like, hey, this is, I see a pattern of behavior here. Now, is this based solely off of race? Is this based solely off the, token interview rule or something else? Once again, just to scream racist, I don't think is the right call, but I understand why he would, because, we're getting a repeated pattern of behavior by, people in power that don't look like him. I can understand his thinking and his kind of, his problem with that. I truly understand where he can see this coming from. But once again, the rule, I think it's the rule that is kind of, is kind of like enforcing that this could potentially be a racism issue instead of just you're just not the guy. You're not what we're looking for regardless of race. You're just not what we're looking for at the current time. We want to go offensive guy, not defensive guy. All right, what else do we get to here? So they were drinking the night before. The Giants, Dolphins, and Broncos responded separately to the allegations Tuesday. The Giants said they were, quote, pleased and confident with their hiring process. Yeah, we just get everybody kind of saying their piece about it. Everyone's saying there was no merit. Everyone's truly dismissing what Brian Flores has to say, instead of just once again hearing what he's saying, understanding his perspective, instead of just instantly writing him off. And this is what I'm talking about with like charged language. Like, I understand the NFL is trying to protect their brand and all that, but once again, we can all do better. We can all learn, and we can always use everything as an example of moving forward and doing better, getting it right. Stop trying to be right and get it right. Make sure it is right, because we get the NFL statement on what Brian Flores is saying. This is from the NFL. It says, quote, "The NFL and our clubs are deeply committed to ensuring equitable employment practices and continue to make progress in providing equitable opportunities throughout our organizations. Diversity is core to everything we do, and there are few issues on which our clubs and our internal leadership team spend more time. We will defend against these claims which are without merit." So they're instantly writing off everything Brian Flores has come to light with, all of that. The entire statement, talking about, diversity and equitable, equal opportunities here, and then immediately writing them off. I just think it's just that kind of charged language. Hey, there's no merit to this. Whatever he's saying, it's no merit. No merit. I kind of see a little merit here. There's a little merit going on, in the information. Once again, there is merit. Once again, I don't know if it's 100% on race or just kind of, they're just not interested in Brian Flores as the guy, but he fits the bill of what we have to do. We have to, interview a minority. He's black. Let's get him in here. One interview, then we can go with our guy. So I don't know if it's truly racism or just the rule, but there is merit there. There is merit because we can't decipher, because we don't have the information. We're not in the heads of these, the Broncos people, the Giants people, the Dolphins people. But there is merit there because we are questioning. It could be racism. It could be because he is black. It could be that. So that's is that all we've got so far? Yeah, that's really all we've got so far on the Brian Flores thing. This is going to get ugly. This is going to get crazy, I'm sure. More evidence. I mean, we're talking about, a 54-page, 58-page lawsuit that you can look up, and I would definitely, it's right here. Like, this is like another thing that, we all have to do to get better. Let's stop going off of headlines. Let's go over these 58 pages in depth here. We'll probably, we should definitely go over more in the actual document, instead of just what ESPN is putting out and what they're saying. Go to the actual documents, what they're actually putting in legal writing, because that's going to be the facts to truly go off of what gets introduced in court, not he said, she said, to some anonymous source that people are reporting on. So I would definitely encourage everybody to go read this document, the entire 58 pages, know the lawsuit, know what he's actually alleging, and all that in actual court proceedings and documents. So it's on there. They link right to it. It's easy peasy. It's in a nice kind of PDF right here. You can go page by page. Doesn't look that long. Yes, it's 58 pages, but there's pictures. There's pictures, folks. Come on, easy. Look at all these pictures of all these white. Look at all these pictures of all these white people in the league, right? So go read the court document. Let's educate and just once again have the open conversation. Don't because we said one thing here that you don't necessarily agree with, and then villainize everybody because off of one thing. Take the entire thing, our entire words, what we've been saying for the last, I don't know how much time we've been spending on it, but however much time. So let's all just take a deep breath, folks. Let's stop using the charged language. Let's stop trying to kind of say what I'm saying is right and that is it. It's that's it's what I'm saying is right. That's it. And try to, be open-minded, take in all the information, and, once again, let's just try to solve the issue if we can. So yeah, we'll definitely keep up with the information. Once again, this is going to be big. And then we get Deshaun Watson. So we got 2 lawsuits to truly kind of focus in on in this offseason. So I guess, is that good? I don't know. All right. What